Welcome to the Software Process and Measurement Cast number 617. I'm Tom Cagley. In today's Software Process and in today's SPaMCAST, we feature our essay on rediscovering productivity. One of the tools I've embraced is Pomodoro. It is a great approach to staying focused and helps unwonkify time in my home office. Also this week, Susan Parente brings her Not a Scrumdamentalist column to the Software Process and Measurement Cast. Susan begins a three-part series on grateful leadership. Grateful leadership is so much more than just saying thank you. In between the essay and Susan's column, we have a promo for the Agile Online Summit 2020. Rediscovering Productivity, Thomas M. Cagley Jr., Megan E. Cagley. I have not worked outside of my home office since mid-April this year. There are lots of benefits to this change. My commute is really short. One door down from my bedroom. I run a lot more. I get to hang out with my wife more, and I've lost 42 pounds. But not everything is unicorns and rainbows. Time feels a bit wonky. For example, Friday comes and it's no longer the demarcation between the work week and the weekend it once was. TGIF does not have quite the allure that it once had. I also miss the stimulus of meeting new people and seeing new situations directly. Pomodoro is a technique that is useful for attacking productivity killers, procrastination, and multitasking. And it is useful for more successful time slicing. The technique was developed by Francisco Cerrillo in the 1980s. It combines strategies of fixed blocks of time, cadence, and focus, which limits work in process to get work done. As a reminder, the basic Pomodoro process is fairly simple and straightforward. 1. Decide on the task or batch of tasks to be done. 2. Set a timer for 25 minutes. 3. Work on the task until the timer goes off. 4. Take a 5-minute break. 5. Repeat for 4 Pomodoros, then take a 20-minute break. 6. Repeat until done, or the end of the day. The rules are fairly simple, but one that I've struggled with over the years is the reminder that once started, a Pomodoro can't be interrupted. I have to remind myself to hide or put my phone in airplane mode to minimize interruptions. A second hard part is that every once in a while I achieve flow state, and at the end of my 25-minute time frame, I would rather keep going. Tackling both of these issues helps deliver a better handle on the flow of time by connecting my backlog to outcomes. In my opening paragraph, I used the term rediscover, because I've been using Pomodoro off and on since 2015 to help me focus. But when I started working from home, I stopped. Being home and doing Pomodoro did not go together in my mind. I was wrong. And interestingly, I found that Pomodoro is even more useful in my COVID-19 workspace. The short bursts of effort focused on an outcome and a range of tasks keep things real during this time when reorganizing my office is one of my favorite ways to pretend I'm traveling. Watching Rick Steves is another. I've always felt that variety is the spice of life. Pomodoro helps manage cues and reduce the number of context switches to a level that matches an attention span that helps me be effective. Thoughts, comments, all welcome. Please feel free to reach out to us at spamcastinfo@gmail.com or tcagley@tomcagley.com. We look forward to the conversation.
Join 10,000 Agile-minded professionals at Agile 2020. Coming in October 26th, we're going to have great speakers and great keynotes like Jeff Gotthelf, Mary Poppendiek, and Jeff Watts join us at the Agile 2020 Summit with keynotes and other tracks. Join us this year. Go to bit.ly/AOS-20-EB for your early bird tickets today and be part of those 10,000 people.
Susan Parente, thank you for bringing your wonderful I'm Not a Scrumdamentalist column to the Software Process and Measurement Cast.
Hi, Tom. It's always great to be here. Thank you, and hope you're having a good day.
You know, I am, and it's, any day that I actually get to talk to really smart people, and even better, multiple really smart people before 9 o'clock in the morning, I don't know how you can do better. Susan, today, let's start with the whole idea of grateful servant leadership. And before we dive into that, are those two separate things? Are they one thing all joined up?
Well, I've sort of coined the phrase the grateful servant agile leader, which is a little bit lengthy, but we'll say the grateful agile leader. And where the servant leadership comes in is that we know about servant leadership through Agile. We know that the Agile practices and principles are well supported by a servant leadership style as opposed to a more directive or delegative style. And when I first heard about grateful leadership, I saw right away how it married servant leadership. And grateful leadership is all about acknowledgement. It's about having gratitude for the people we work with and the people that we work for our customers. And it's interesting, I actually have a quote for you. So I don't know if you know, Robert Greenleaf is the founder of servant leadership, and it goes back many, many years. Robert Greenleaf is no longer with us, but this quote is actually from Don Frick, who's the author of an authorized biography of Robert Greenleaf, which was called A Life of Servant Leadership. And he said about the founder of Grateful Leadership, this woman, Judith Omlis, that like her, Robert Greenleaf knew that you cannot build community, much less earn trust, without acknowledging colleagues, expressing gratitude, and offering recognition. If Greenleaf was alive today, I believe he would say that you cannot be a servant leader without being a grateful leader. And so that's where I came up with the grateful servant leader. And I've also sort of coined it the grateful agile leader. But what I want to emphasize and what I'm trying to bring into the community of agile practitioners is not only being a servant leader, but also being a grateful leader. This is not a leadership choice where you have to pick one. These are both ways that we can be a leader and do agile and not step on the practices and principles of agile, regardless of which method we're using, and have a leadership style to lean on. Because when a lot of people transition from traditional project management to agile, the only leadership style they're taught is servant leadership. And in traditional project management, you have delegative or directive, you have participative, you have I don't know, there's a few other styles. Laissez-faire, of course, which actually is more like what you would do with agile. But I don't even like to tell people, the leadership style in agile is laissez-faire, because it really isn't. To me, it's about everyone on the team is a leader. It's not that the leader of the team says, go do whatever you want, because it's really about a self-organized team. So everyone should be in a leadership role, rather than traditional project management where the emphasis is PM being in a leadership role and the team being the followers of that leader.
So how does the idea of the grateful leadership style then translate into an agile team that's self-directed, people pass around the leadership mantle?
Well, I think there's a few great places to use it. Basically in daily work, just approaching things with gratitude, with gratefulness. We all know that honey catches more flies than vinegar, right? So if we can approach people with that positive attitude and it being displayed by acknowledging other people, by being grateful for what they do. And I don't mean just saying thank you, but I'll give you an example. So, Tom, I am extremely grateful for the passion you have for Agile, the passion you have for professionals, that you put together this podcast. You find these great people, which I am so proud and honored to be one of them, and do this for people on a regular basis so that you can further our knowledge. You do so in a way that's free to listeners. It's valuable to them. It's accessible to them as they drive to work or they do whatever they have to do throughout the day. And I just want to acknowledge you for doing that for our profession, for me personally, and for our colleagues. So,
wow.
Yeah, that's not like thank you, right?
Yeah, no, it isn't.
And I meant that deeply. And
no,
that's
I
the
understand.
Key with that. You really, I mean, I made it up right now as I'm talking to you, but that's how I feel. And I just never said it to you. But that, and so for me, I'm a very left brain person. It's a constant reminder to stop and say that thing that I'm thinking inside, but I never took that time to say to you.
Many of us, I think, are, left brain people or at least aren't effusive with, how we interact with our colleagues. Is this something that, I'm not sure that I've ever heard someone act that way or have those kind of conversations in a team. Is this something we have to teach people? Is this something that it's obviously not innate, I don't think, or maybe it is innate?
It's funny. I think as children, children are more innately grateful about things. Maybe they're not as articulate. But then I think as we get older, there's a little bit of like embarrassment. It takes a little bit of vulnerability to express that. Like, what if it's not well received? The other thing, I was actually just listening to somebody's presentation yesterday about gratitude and incorporating gratitude. It was actually, I was on a monthly meeting. It's a Center for Grateful Leadership. You can get on that site and you can actually see when their meetings are. You can become a member for free. And there's a lot of material information. And the best thing is the monthly meetings because there's all these different speakers coming from different industries. And I've spoken there too about Agile and incorporating grateful leadership. So it's neat to talk about it here. So he was saying one of the things that stops people is, do we really have to acknowledge people or thank them? Like, can't you do that too much? Like there's a fear, like if I thank you too much, it'll be old.
Or go to your head.
Yeah, it might go to your head, or it might just get like it's the nuance of it. Like we need to keep it like this shiny diamond that like every now and then you get, but not all the time. Like you can overflow people on it and then they get numb to it. I don't think anybody ever died from being too much gratitude expressed to them. Like I don't think it's going to cause that kind of pain, but it's just funny that we go there like, oh, we don't want to overdo it, or you don't want to like thank somebody all the time and then they won't be motivated to work. We need to instead dangle the carrot in front of them. So that's definitely a concern, an attitude that people have around it. And then the other's a vulnerability. Practically, though, I want to kind of answer this separate part of your question, like practically, how do you do this? Example, in the retrospective, the team members are looking at what they did well and what could be improved. You can use grateful leadership, this expression of gratitude, this power of acknowledgement, so that you can acknowledge people for what they did well, right? Because it's not a postmortem. We don't call the retrospective a postmortem on purpose because that seems negative and blaming and all those bad things that we would do at the end of projects. Instead, this is at the end of an iteration and we can say, hey, what did we do well? And really acknowledge people, not just say thank you. And I am a person, my mom kind of raised me to say thank you all the time. And I know it's my mom because my dad's really bad at it. as, as I've gotten older, and I was like, geez, my dad doesn't say thank you a lot. But my mom will say thank you probably 3 times just because she wants to make sure she didn't forget to say thank you. And that's great. And I do say thank you. I am appreciative, but it's not the same as acknowledging. And that's what I think is really powerful about it. And actually, I'm glad for this conversation. It gave me an opportunity to acknowledge you. And that's probably been there for a while that I feel that way, and I never expressed it just because the timing never came up, But that's it's a really powerful thing to do when people are doing things to help you, to help others. And I mean, obviously they're doing it because they want to make a difference, but being noticed for making that difference is extremely motivational. So those are some of the ways that I think people can incorporate it. And actually, I think it is quite natural after you get yourself in the habit. I think it's a habit thing that's why I like adding it to the retrospective. I also think it'd be great to have in the sprint or iteration review to actually acknowledge the client. With Agile, we're engaged with the customer so much, and we're to take a moment to recognize and acknowledge that how valuable that is to us as the team who's doing the work, that the customer actually gives their time, gives their energy, gives their focus on a regular basis to make sure we have everything we need so that we can give them value. That's a partnership. It's not something to be taken lightly, because I know from traditional project management, I've had customers give me something and say, okay, let us know how it's going, send us a report every week, and we'll see it in 3 or 4 months from now or a year from now. Like they don't want to be involved on a regular basis, sometimes because they don't have the time to be involved. So to me, just acknowledging what they're doing to help us so we can help them is really valuable.
So, Susan, this whole idea of the grateful leadership style, whether or not we do couple it with servant leadership, it sounds very powerful. If people wanted to continue the conversation with you on this topic, how would they go about doing that?
Well, you can email me, Parente, Parente, at S as in Sam, the number 3, -tec.com, or you can find me under Susan Parente on LinkedIn. Be happy to talk about anything around grateful leadership, servant leadership, or anything in Agile, and I would love to hear from you.
Super. Susan, until next month, thank you for bringing your wonderful I'm Not a Scrumdamentalist column to the Software Process and Measurement Cast.
Thank you, Tom. And by the way, I have had I'd say maybe 5 people that have told me I listened to your podcast, and they went and found me on LinkedIn, and they did connect with me. So that's awesome.
Wicked. In Reread Saturday News, Chapter 15 of Tame Your Workflow introduces the concept of a MOVE, which stands for Minimal Outcome Value Effort. Steve and Daniel use the construct to define an atomic level of value delivery that is both minimalistic and sufficient. MOVE, while not replacing the myriad of MXX acronyms, minimum viable product, minimal marketable product, the whole gamut, provides a mental model for defining items in your portfolio backlog that is focused on throughput accounting. Have you bought your copy of Steve Tendon and Daniel Daron's Tame Your Workflow? Use the link in the show notes to support the blog, the podcast, and of course the authors. Remember, the Software Process and Measurement Cast is a proud sponsor of the following events: the Rust Conference, Let's Talk Rust on September 15th at the Live at Manning Conference. In one rustful day, you go from ways to learn it to where and how to use it. Link in the show notes. Women in Tech Conference. Learn to be inspired and connected with others working to advance inclusion in the technology industry with another Live at Manning event. The Women in Tech Online Conference will be held on October 13th, starring women that are rocking the tech boat. Finally, the Agile Online Summit 2020. The Agile Online Summit was created for people who couldn't attend major conferences. This will be its third year, and the main goal is to bring major-level Agile speakers to people all over the world, as well as spotlight some up-and-coming Agile coaches and trainers. October 26th to October 30th, 2020. This will be both live and recorded. Link in the show notes. The next Software Process and Measurement Cast will feature a discussion I had with Mike King and Beth Leonard earlier this year. We discussed the changing work environment, process, and quality. A hard-hitting discussion with two great minds. If process improvement is a never-ending journey, why do so many people ask, are we there yet?